Hello everybody, what's going on? It is MTEN here, back with another Terraria 1.4 Journey's End tutorial, and in this video I'm going to be going over all the unobtainable items and NPCs and enemies in Terraria Journey's End. So in most major Terraria updates there has been an item or several that was originally going to be implemented into the game but never made it fully. And so you can find these items in the game files in some capacity. Some of them are just there as sprites. Some of them do not function whatsoever. Others are almost fully implemented, but for whatever reason they were chosen not to put in the game. And I'm going to be going through all of them today. So the first item I'm going to talk about is the two Zappinators that have been added into the game. Originally, these were unobtainable items that I believe were used for testing back in the very early stages of the game's release, say, like pre-Terraria 1.1. And at that stage, the Zappinator was the best weapon in the game, so it was just used for general testing on enemies. So this weapon was in the game files for a very long time, and it finally made it in the final patch. But as you can see, it's a bit of a meme weapon. It's a bit broken. It doesn't function properly. The tooltip even says it might be broken, referencing the fact that it has been in the game files as this not fully implemented weapon for an extended period of time. So I thought that the Zappinator deserved a mention, but now we're going to be moving on to items that are actually not available in the game. And we're going to start off with the celestial hammers, chainsaws, and axes. So currently in the game we have lunar pickaxes, lunar drills, and lunar hamaxes, but in the game files there is a hammer, chainsaw, and axe equivalent for all of these items, and I think these were removed just because there's no real necessary need for them. I feel like because there's a hamax, maybe the devs didn't feel like it was worth wasting players' luminite and celestial fragments on having to get 3 or 4 different variants of a certain thing when all they needed was a combined hamax. So it makes sense that these aren't implemented in the game, but they still look cool. The sprites look pretty cool. Up next we have the white star. Currently it just looks like a fallen star except coloured white, and there is no known purpose for this item. It has no function. I like to theorise that this was originally intended for a meteor shower event or something like that, where there were rarer stars used for stuff. I don't know, but yeah, currently useless. Okay, so moving on from there, we have 3 treasure bags for enemies that were never implemented into the game. And the first one is the lunatic cultist, the second is the ogre, and the third is the dark mage treasure bags. So it seems like originally these bosses / mini bosses were always supposed to have items in expert mode and drop specialized things, but it looks like they were never fully implemented into the game. As you are well aware, the lunatic cultist infamously has no expert mode drop. However, they did add a master mode relic and a master mode pet in Terraria 1.4. Okay, the next item is a new unobtainable item in Terraria 1.4, and it is the skull bow. Now this item actually has some stats. It has a damage of 8, a knockback of 5, and a use time of 17 with a velocity of 11. And of course it uses arrows. So I believe that this was supposed to be a Skeletron drop or something like that never made it into the game, like a ranger counterpart of the Book of Skulls. But I guess we won't know unless this gets implemented into the future. But it's interesting. Up next we have the big one, and I'm talking about the first Fractal. Now as you can see here, it looks very similar to the Terra Blade, and that is because this was the original Terra Blade upgrade that was going to be added into Journey's End instead of the Zenith. So we also have some stats for this weapon. It has a base damage of 190, knockback of 6.5, critical strike chance of 14, use time of 35, velocity of 16. So I believe those are the same stats as the Zenith, but I'm not 100% sure. And it was supposed to be the final sword in the game, and I'm going to share with you its attack because it looks quite crazy. So wherever you pointed your mouse, little characters holding the first fractal will fly out, sort of similar to how the influx waiver swords fly out, and they just spam attack enemies, piercing stuff. It's really cool, but also it auto targets. So as we can see of this gif of the player attacking the king slime, when there's an enemy, it will override whatever your mouse is positioned and just attack the enemy nearby. So it looked very powerful, but ultimately I'm clearly quite happy with how the zenith turned out as well, because that is an amazing weapon. Okay, so up next we have the pixel box. Now the pixel box is a wiring item that was never fully implemented into the game, and it works similarly to logic gates. Now, to be honest, I don't really understand how these things work, but according to the wiki, if a wire to the left or right of the pixel box is turned on, the pixel box will turn off. If a wire below or above the pixel box is turned on at the same time, however, the pixel box will be turned on. Only turning on the wire below or above will have no effect. Wires must be placed on the pixel box in order for them to function. Pixel boxes that are on do not emit light, but will always look fully illuminated. So they separate wire paths, is my understanding of what their function is, but like I said, I don't really understand how they work. Okay, so from here we have 3 new vanity items from the Old One's Army event. We have the ogre mask, the goblin mask, and the goblin bomber cap. These are just vanity items that I presume would have been dropped by the Old One's Army creatures, and they just never made it in. Although that's not the only Old One's Army items. Up next, there is the Cobalt Dynamite Backpack. Now, currently, I'm not sure if this is also a vanity item or whether this could have potentially been an accessory. And I like to theorize that it would work similar to kobolds, where if the player gets hit by an enemy, it releases an explosion or something like that. I think that could have been cool. Maybe it was just a vanity item. Who knows? But wait, there's more. There is also the Etherian javelins, which look to be a throwing class, in quotation marks, because throwing class isn't a thing anymore, item that would have dropped from Etherian javelin throwers, but they were never implemented. And I think these could have been cool, but I think maybe because Relogic was trying to phase out the throwing class, they were never implemented. And as well as that, there is the boring bow, which looks quite awesome. I really like the sprite for this one, and this could have potentially been a drop from the ogres, or it looks to be a hard mode bow. It looks too crazy to be a pre-hard mode bow, in my opinion. Moving on from there, we have some older removed items. These items were actually supposed to be in the 1.2 update, and these are the icemourne, the scythe, and the soul scythe. So these were all removed from the game files in 1.2.4, but they are all, I believe, hard mode weapons. The icemourne looks like a big swingy sword. The scythe looks like it could have potentially been dropped from the solar eclipse or the blood moon, and the soul scythe, well, I'm not sure. Maybe a hallowed item or a dungeon item even. Another removed item is the biome key moulds. Now, there was a point in time when these were required for actually getting biome keys. You needed them plus a temple key, but I think they ended up removing it in the end. The next item is the Mysterious Package, which is an Amazon exclusive item, and it gives the players a pet drone. So the sprite work on this looks a little bit different to the other items in the game, so I can see why it wasn't implemented, and I think it was only an Amazon exclusive drop anyway. Now, according to the wiki, there are a series of unobtainable dev sets and items on other platforms such as 3DS and old gen console versions, but I will not be discussing them because they are all obtainable on PC. However, another removed item I will mention are 3 different types of presents that were added in, I think, 1.2.2 for that Christmas update then, and have since been removed. Okay, so there are a series of unobtainable banners in the game, and I believe these are, some of them are for enemies that are already in the game, such as the blue cultist and blue cultist fighter. However, there are some that are from enemies that were never implemented, such as the white cultist archer, fighter, and caster. There's also a poisonous spore banner, but I don't know what it is referring to. I have no idea what a poisonous spore is, and I don't believe it's in the game currently. So I think this was an enemy that was originally supposed to be introduced but never made it into the game. Next across, we have 2 fake chests. So as you may know, you can wire up chests and make them traps, and now there are some naturally spawning in the world as well. I think within the development process, these chests were reported to be glitched, so they were never implemented properly. Oh, also, before I forget, 2 other items that never made it into the game. The apple pie slice, which is a food item that didn't make it, and the phasic warp ejector, which looks like it was a Martian Madness drop, but I have no idea what it is. Probably looks like some weird arranged weapon, but also just could be a general item that was never implemented. So there you go. Now I will move on to NPCs that never made it into the game, but they're still in the game file. So we're going to start off with the white cultist archer. So this looks pretty much identical to the blue cultists, but wearing the solar cultist vanity set that you can get from the clothier. And potentially there were going to be 2 variants of the cultist, maybe depending on the world, or this was the original design and it just never made it in and got swapped for blue. Next up, we have the Jungle Mimic. Now, this is an equivalent to the Corruption and Hallowed mimics that are in the game, and this never made it in. Currently drops greater healing potions and mana potions, but no exclusive items. Red was asked on Discord whether this item would make it into the 1.4 update, but as you are all aware by now, it unfortunately didn't. Okay, so the next 4 NPCs are unused, incomplete NPCs that can't be spawned even with the use of mods. So these are Nun 2, which looks like a wandering eye, the Exploding Snowman, which looks like it was part of the Frost Legion event but never made it in, a Mini Flow Invader, and a Dungeon Defenders 2 Attacker Test, which doesn't actually have a sprite. Alrighty, that's all I have to say for today. If you did enjoy this video and learned something new, please make sure to smash like, because this video did take a while to make. Can we get 1.5 thousand likes on this video? I think that would be pretty awesome. Anyway, thank you all for watching, everyone. Leave a comment down below if you've made it this far with the caption treasure bag. And other than that, subscribe and turn on notifications for more Terraria videos coming soon. Anyway, like I said, thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye.